Hi YouTube friends, it's Diaper Kiddo Jason, and Domino is behind me taking a nap. So I wanted to do a video today. I know it's been about 2 weeks since my last video, but honestly nothing has changed. I do have a little news, I guess. On Wednesday of this week, today being Friday, on Wednesday of this week I got a phone call from one of the jobs that I had applied for as in a clerical position, again for the state of Florida, and I've got a job interview for that position on Wednesday of this coming week. I'm not super excited about this position. Hi, come over to visit. Hi, baby. I'm not super excited about this position, but I need to know more about it before I can really get excited, I guess. I don't really know a whole lot other than which department of the state I would be working for. So I'm kind of interested to go to the interview and see how that goes. But I'm not holding my breath, because the last time I got really excited about a position... Oh, you brought me a toy. You brought me a penguin. But the last time that I was really excited about a position, of course I didn't get the job, despite the fact that I really thought that I had done well with the interview. So I'm holding out hope that this is going to be a good position, and that I might be able to get it. But I'm not really... bye. I'm not really holding my breath on it, just because I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with this job. There's another that I applied for with one of the counties nearby that I'm much more interested in, but I haven't heard anything yet. So we'll see what happens. But barring that, nothing has really changed. I have an amazing husband, as you guys know. In spite of the fact that I'm not working, he's pretty set on the idea that when he next gets paid in a couple of days, he wants me to go ahead and order a case of my Comfort Dry 24/7s, just so that I don't run out, which is really just amazing. He's so supportive. I'm so fortunate to have him. But that's really the only big news. Nothing else has changed. I'm still... Sorry, she went to bed. But I'm still unemployed, of course. Nothing has changed in that regard. I'm starting to go crazy. I really am. Oh, hi. She got out of bed. I have a weird dog. Thank you. But I really am starting to go a little bit stir crazy from not working. I really hate not working. This is not my happy place. I really need a job, so we'll see what happens. But that's the only real news I have. But I did have a topic that I wanted to discuss today. And I don't know, this might come across as negative, I guess. That's not really my intent though. But it might come across as a little bit negative. I wanted to discuss what has been my experience with ABDL families, daddies and brothers and stuff like that, because my experience has been pretty well, not great, we'll just put it that way. It is something that I really am interested in. I would love to have a daddy, but my personal success in that regard has not been super, nor has my husband. He, bless his heart, has tried and tried and tried to have an ABDL family, and it's always kind of blown up in his face. So a little bit of history, I guess, just to kind of set the stage. When I was much younger, my first boyfriend was significantly older than I was. He was an absolutely wonderful man, who unfortunately passed away some years ago. But he was a really, really wonderful person. He ended up being my mom's best friend for years, even after he and I broke up. We broke up after, I mean, we were together for like 4 or 5 years, but we broke up in part because there was that significant age gap. And unfortunately, I was not a very mature person at that point. We all look back on when we were younger and think, God, how stupid was I? But so that's like not unusual, I guess. But I wasn't an overly mature person. And I don't think that I was ready to have that sort of level of a relationship. He did know that I was a DL. And he wasn't like into it or really overly supportive of it. But he didn't like judge me for it until after we broke up. When I broke up with him, it was because I wasn't happy, and I could tell that he wasn't happy. But he was convinced that he was going to spend the rest of his life alone. And so he kind of clung a little bit to the relationship. And after I broke up with him, it really hurt his feelings. And I understand that. I mean, of course I do. But in a bit of a vindictive moment, I guess, he called my mom, who was his best friend, and told her that we had broken up, which I'd already told her, so it wasn't news to her. But then he like proceeded to air all of my, secrets to her, as a way, I guess, to get back at me. Thank God it's not something that she's ever really brought up, other than the one time when she told me that. But it did happen, and that was not the best experience in the world. There are some things that I just don't think that is appropriate for my family to know about me. I mean, we don't all share everything about ourselves with every person we meet. And that's something that I prefer to keep to myself. But he decided to tell her, in his, anger at me breaking up with him. And I was angry about it for a while, but then I kind of got past it because I could understand where he was hurt. And then he passed away. And when he did that, we hadn't spoken, and it hurt me, that we hadn't managed to mend those fences. But he was still my mother's best friend. I mean, they were, very close. They met because of us, but over time he really, came to love her, and she came to love him. So at least there was that. But when I broke up with him, I moved to Long Beach, California, which was not the best place to be. I really wasn't happy out there. But I was in a relationship with somebody who was wanted to date me and was also interested in being like brothers, like he was an AB. And unfortunately, that individual was extremely abusive, mentally and physically. It was a very bad experience, and I don't want to go into a whole lot of depth with that one, but that was probably the worst relationship I've ever been in. To the point that 15 years later, I had to have major reconstructive surgery on my foot. Like, half of my foot is made of metal because of this individual. So that was not a great experience. So I went from that situation to, I ended up actually bouncing around a little bit. I lived in Las Vegas for a little while, and then went back to California, and then I finally ended up moving back home for a little while to get on my feet, and then I moved to Kansas City, Missouri, and I dated another like AB, and that relationship was weird. Like, I felt very undervalued in that relationship. And this person, and obviously I'm not going to name names, I don't want to call anybody out or anything, but this person broke up with me and told me that he was breaking up with me because his mother didn't like me because I had no ambition in life. Like, That's like the weirdest excuse for breaking up with somebody that you're dating that I've ever heard. And it obviously wasn't true. Like, he just wasn't into the relationship. For months, I had been telling him that I felt, undervalued, and that I wanted more affection and more interaction with him than I was getting. We were living together, and I barely spoke to him. And that was like where he was happy, I guess, was not treating me like a human being. So that wasn't a great experience either. So when he broke up with me, obviously I had to move out. And I moved in with a friend who was also an ABDL. And that was in Kansas City proper. Like, I was living outside of Kansas City and moved into town to live with my friend as his roommate. And my friend had emotional feelings for me that I wasn't aware of. And when I didn't reciprocate those feelings, I mean, he was a really sweet guy. He really was. But I didn't have those feelings for him. And when I didn't have those feelings for him, it hurt him deeply. And so that was a temporary living situation. But when I had been living in California several years prior, we had a friend, me and my roommates. It was basically an ABDL household. There were 4 of us living together, but when I was living in California, I had a friend visit the United States from New Zealand, and he and I got along very, very well. And we had continued talking for a long time, and that developed over time into a relationship. After I moved back from after I moved back from Kansas City, moved back in with my mother. We had been dating effectively long distance for a long time, and he told me he wanted me to move to New Zealand to come be with him, and so I did, and that is not something that I regret at all. It was a really, really good experience. It was a really, really bad relationship, but it was a great experience. I loved that country. It broke my heart when I had to come back. But the relationship was weird. He was in a weird place. He had some issues that he was trying to deal with I don't want to say too much because this is somebody else's business, but basically I was not his type. And so I felt really alone over there. Like, I had a friend, Tim, that I was really close to, but he was in a relationship with somebody else, and I was very lonely and very isolated. I was an American in a foreign country, and I had one friend really to my name. So I finally decided I just couldn't, deal with that, and the fact that while I was over there, a lot of things had happened with my family that I missed out on. My sister got married, and there was a lot of stuff going on at home here in the States that I was missing out on because I had been over there for 4.5 years, I think. So I finally decided to come back home. And that was really, really, really difficult. So I got back home, time passed, blah, blah, blah. And somebody that I had known for a very, 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 very long time, since we were both teenagers, we were talking, and that sort of turned into a relationship. But unfortunately, that person, who was also an AB, was very self-obsessed, very self-centered, to the point that he felt it was more important to buy himself new computer parts than to, provide food for us and things like that. He would buy computer memory out of the food budget, so then we had nothing to eat. And it was a very, destructive relationship in a different way. And so he is, or was anyway, a furry. And so he took me to a furry convention, and that is where I met my husband, who is absolutely amazing. I had to date my way through the scum of the earth to get to him, but my husband is an amazing person, and that's where we met. was at a furry convention that my ex took me to. So it was a good experience. We got to know each other over time. Obviously, my relationship that I was in was imploding. Um, and so, we ended up getting together, and we have been together ever since. And um, that's really incredible to me that, we've been together for over a decade now. And, I could not be happier and I couldn't be more thankful. But my husband is like marginally ABDL. I think he wants to be a lot more than he actually is. Like, he talks it up a lot, but he doesn't actually do a lot with it. And that's sort of understandable because, like I said, he's had some really bad experiences too. Um, we have not had the most success in, finding friends or finding people within the ABDL community that we can, feel close to. And, like, I don't want to just say, oh, but it's not our fault, it's theirs. But it's not our fault. We've been really good friends to the people that we have connected with and have not gotten that back. My husband is a lot more baby fur, ABDL furry, than he is just an ABDL person. And he had, for a while, a family of his own. He was a dad, and he had 4 boys. And most of them went psycho, and all of them quit being his cubs, his kids. Over time, it was not a great experience. He was really hurt and he felt very betrayed because these were people that he genuinely cared about and he took a lot of time up with, to the point that he was burning out from it. And, we felt very close to these people. Like, I considered them my friends too. And everything just kind of fell apart. So he hasn't had a great experience with that one. And then the 2 of us had a daddy together and separately, actually, that we've tried to make a go with a couple of times. And I know that this person sometimes watches my videos, and I don't want to be like negative or like try to sound like I'm calling anybody out, because he's a really, really nice person. He's a really, really bad daddy, but he's a very sweet person, and he means well. But that whole experience kind of blew up in our face multiple times. Like, we've tried multiple times with this person, and it did not work out well. And my husband feels really hurt about it, and has for a long time. Like, it just like ruined his feelings in a lot of ways, because it was just one more betrayal he sort of felt. But this person who adopted us, basically kind of forgot that we existed. He came to visit at one point, and he was ostensibly coming to visit to spend some time with my husband, who was his cub at the time, and kind of spend some daddy-son time together. And instead, he spent the entire visit being little, and really just kind of deprived my husband. And then he let him down several times. There was one year on his birthday, that this person, his daddy, was supposed to call him on Skype and spend some time with him that way for his birthday. And basically the entire day came and went. He never heard from him once. And so I went out of my way to make it be a really special day, and I actually like daddied for my husband, which is something that he's not usually comfortable with. But just because it made me so angry that, he had been looking forward to that so much. He really needed that experience, and unfortunately didn't get it. And so it really hurt his feelings. And I did everything I could to try to make it better, but it wasn't the same, obviously. Well, a lot of time passed, and then that person started talking to me again. And, okay, the weird thing is, in my relationship with my husband, for a while I swear I was starting to get a complex about it. Everyone finds him, in general, to be a lot more interesting than I am. Like, he he's one of those people that just gravitates people to him. He's very charming, he's handsome, he's super intelligent, he's funny, and he just tends to gravitate people towards him. And I ended up in his shadow a lot of the time. And that wasn't his fault. Like, I'm absolutely not blaming my husband for that. But unfortunately, it means that, he kind of got a lot of the attention, and I kind of got forgotten a lot. Well, I was feeling very lonely, and being forever his plus one, kind of, I don't know, like, really just affected me. And so when this person that I was talking about kind of came back around several years later and started taking up time with me and showing me attention and really making me feel appreciated, that was like something that really touched me, and I needed that. And he asked if I would be interested in him adopting me again, and I said, well, yes, but I have one very specific rule. I don't want to just be forgotten about. I'm not expecting like constant attention. God, no, I'm like way too independent for that. But I wanted to know that I mattered, and that I wasn't just, like a convenient outlet until something better came along or whatever. And this person promised me that that wasn't going to be the case. And for a few weeks it wasn't, and then it was again. And it broke my heart. Like, I was really upset about that. I should have known, people don't change that much. And, I should have known, he's a very, very nice person, like I said. I really enjoy talking to him. However, I can't be on that level with him. Just because, I don't think that he's capable of focusing on somebody for that amount of time. At least in my experience, to the point that I don't think I could ever, try that particular relationship again, just because of how it worked out the last two times. So, that was my, most recent experience. And I've had other sort of experiences with people that just didn't work out. When I discovered puppy play, I thought it was a really fun thing and something that I could really get into. And I had been talking to somebody who lived in Georgia and was very experienced in that area, with my husband's blessing, because it was something that I was exploring, and he was totally okay with that. And this person and I had been talking for a long, long time. And he basically told me that I needed to leave my husband and come live with him. And I was like, no, that's absolutely not going to happen. And that's what he was trying to convince me to do. And no. So I obviously quit talking to that individual. And then when we were living in North Carolina, I had a friend who was more specifically a friend with benefits. Again, with my husband's blessing, because there are a lot of things that I'm interested in that my husband's not. And he liked this person too. The three of us had a lot in common. We hung out a lot. And my husband had no problems with this person coming over, and the two of us, going off and doing our own thing and playing and having fun, without my husband. He was totally okay with that. Except this person kind of became borderline obsessed with me and started acting started acting very possessive of me to my husband. And so that got stopped very quickly, because that was never what I had signed on for. So it's not been the best experience. And then I have a big brother who I met through Tumblr, who is a really wonderful person, and we talk all the time. But that's a much more casual sort of thing. He doesn't really take charge or act like a big brother very often. We're really just more friends than anything, which I'm totally okay with. That's fine, because if it did go any further than that, I don't know how I would feel about that at this point. I just feel like I've been disappointed by too many people. And then, like, okay, like, there's my best friend, who is a wonderful person with some issues. That seems to be like the theme of my life. But he and my husband got into it one day, and now they're not talking anymore. And he barely talks to me, and he's talking about moving away from our town and moving to Tallahassee, where I'll probably never hear from him again. Just because of a stupid situation that he basically caused. So like I just haven't had any luck in this regard. And it's sad because it's something that I really would like to be able to explore at some point. And I would like to be able to have that experience, but other people just tend to disappoint me too much, I guess. I'm still open to the idea, but it would have to be like the right person who I would know for certain wasn't gonna flake out on me, I guess, for me to ever feel comfortable with that again. Just because I think that too many people have treated both me and my husband unfairly over the years, and it's kind of put me off on trusting people. And it's made me very isolationist. Like, if you go all the way back in my video history, very early on I talked about the fact that I'm pretty much a hermit, and I very much keep to myself, and that's a big part of why. Like, I have trouble trusting people enough to make friends anymore. Just because I've let too many people in, and too many people have hurt me over it. Or my husband, the same situation there. And, like, it's hard for me to feel completely comfortable with somebody at this point, just because of how, like, my history has always sort of gone. My husband is like the one person that is a constant in my life that's never let me down. And it's made me really become hesitant to open myself up to other people. And so that's sort of what the purpose of this channel is I wanted to be able to like put myself out there a little bit more than I have, because I know that I'm too isolationist, I'm too much of a hermit, I guess, really. And I'm trying to kind of break out of that. I'm trying to open up a little bit more. And I feel like maybe YouTube is a good outlet for it, just because, like, it's me talking to a camera and there's no expectations there. There's no way that anybody can disappoint me, which is so tragic if you think about it. Like, it's really a sad way to put it, but it has been a good outlet. So that's all I really wanted to talk about today. Like I don't want to drag this video out too much longer, but keep your fingers crossed, as I said, that I get a decent job offer from this interview that I'm getting next week. Just because I am desperate to go back to work. I'm going crazy, man. Let's see if there's anything else I need to mention. Not that I can really think of. I'm still rocking the Tranquility ATNs. I'm still kind of hating them. They're still stupidly thin, but they do still count. And once my husband gets paid again, I'll be able to order a case of Comfort Dry 24/7s, which is good because that's my favorite. It's my favorite, like, non-printed diaper, and in general I like it better than, like, pretty much any of the printed things that I've tried, as far as, like, the comfort level and the overall fit. I do wish that there were print options, because I prefer a printed diaper, but I like how these feel too much. That's really about it. Nothing else that I can think of other than I'm blowing through these ATNs because they're so thin. But thank God they're super cheap. And then one of the websites, I'm trying to think who it was. One of the websites, and I'm sure some of you guys know about it, did like a accidental half-off coupon code that kind of got out. And I happened to see something on Tumblr about it the day that it was live. And so that's where, like, all the diapers that I've been wearing for the past months have come from. And so I ordered a case of the ATNs at the time because half off of stupid cheap is like ridiculously cheap. And so I've been kind of writing that case for a while. They're not so bad like if you double up, but like I know I've shown you guys before. Like they're so thin. Like I don't know, they're crazy thin. It's hard to describe how thin these are. They like there's like nothing there. There's nothing there. Like if I was to wet this, I think I'd be like flooded and leaking before I was halfway done. They're not awesome, but they are cheap. And so I will give them their cheap factor. But that's the only good thing I can really say about them. That and the plastic is really, really soft. Like, I mean, it's very soft. But that's about the only good things that I can say about them. That and the price. Like, obviously the price is great. But other than that, like, there's nothing really going on. I'm praying that I get this job and that it works out to be a good job. Like, not something I'm going to end up hating. Because I have to go back to work. I can't handle much more of this. I'm at home all day, every day with Domino, which is great. I love Domino. I guess she went back to bed again. But, like, I need human contact. Like, I'm going crazy. And so, like, I need to find work. I need work desperately. So keep your fingers crossed for me that this is a good job that I'll actually want. Because, like I said, I don't know too much about it. Other than it's a clerical position. So, keep your fingers crossed for me, and I guess I'll check in, as I can if anything else changes. Again, sorry for the lack of content recently. I've been trying to come up with things to talk about, but when there's very little going on in your life, it's kind of hard to come up with anything interesting to actually talk about. So, I guess that's about it for this video, guys. I do have a couple of ideas for videos that I want to do. More like conversational videos like this one and less little life updates kind of thing. I'm sort of making a list of things so that when I'm, out of ideas, I can kind of pull from my list so that I can at least kind of keep the content coming until I get work and I can, go back to living a normal life. But that's it for this video. So keep your fingers crossed and send me some positive vibes. You can always reach out to me at jason@diaperkiddo.com, or leave me a comment in the comments below so that I can artificially inflate my video stats, I guess. And I will try my best to actually answer your comments. And that's it. So I will see you again soon. Bye, YouTube friends.